Hello everyone, today let's solve the problem number 1193, monthly transactions 1. So what the question states here, just give me a second here. So what the question states here, we have to write the SQL query to find for each month and country the following details about transactions. Again I'm telling, just listen to this. We have to write an SQL query to find for each month and country the following details about transactions. So the first one here is total number of transactions and their total amount. Total number of transactions and their total amount. This is first one. And the second one here is total number of approved transactions and their total amount. The only difference here is first thing, it's only total number of transactions and their total amount. So here total number of approved transactions and their this one total amount. So here the second one, the difference is approved transactions. So the first one is for only total number of transactions. So this is what we need to write the query for, right? So let's come to the first example here, or let's come to input here. So we have transactions table that contains here ID, country, state, amount, and transaction date. So ID is of the type integer, and country is of the type varchar, and state is of the type enum, and amount is of the type integer, and transaction date or trans date that they have given, this is of the type date. This is fine. So output, what we need to return as output, basically we have to return a table with month in year and month. This one you can clearly see here output. So see here, year and month, we have to return a table with month in year and month format. Country, nothing but the transaction country, you can clearly see here. This one, transaction count, nothing but total number of transactions we have to here see here, total number of transactions. Approved count here, approved count means the transaction approved, means approved total amount. So during the question I have explained clearly. So first one was for total number of transactions and second one was for approved transaction, total number of approved transactions, right? So this one is the approved count is nothing but in this case, this is number of approved transactions. So transaction total amount also we have to. So where is this one, transaction total amount, and the final one, transaction total amount is total transaction amount, right? So the final one here is approved total amount, nothing but total approved transaction amount here. This one we are speaking of, right? So I hope this is completely clear, right? I hope this is completely clear. This is what we need to return in the form of output. So we have the transaction table with ID, country, state, amount, and transaction date. So we need to return the output in the following this one, return a table with these things, right? So that's what we need to, that's what we discussed now. So I hope the question is completely clear. What we need to do is completely clear as well. First thing what we'll be doing, let's discuss the approach, right? Let's discuss the approach here in this case. Just give me a second. So yeah, let's do one thing, let's discuss the approach and then let's write the query, right? So first let's discuss the approach. So here first thing, let's discuss the approach step by step. First step here is we have to extract the month, right? So we will be making use of date format here. This keyword, we'll be making use of the date format keyword to extract the, so we have to extract in this format itself, right? If you remember, they have clearly mentioned in the question. So we will be making use of the date format keyword to extract what this one, year and month format from the transaction date, right? So this is what we'll be doing. So this you will come to know clearly when we write the query. So we should be knowing because we have already seen the example, right? So first in the output, so the first column, the output was in the form of this one, right? Year and month. So for that one we'll be making use of the date format keyword to extract the year and month format from the transaction date. This is fine. So let's go with the second step here, group by. Group by here, what we are doing, we are grouping the results by month and country. So we will be grouping the results by month and country. When I say we will group the results by month and country, so we have to go with the month and country, right? Based on the country and the month, we will be making use of the group by clause here. So this one, we will be making use of the group by clause just to group the results by month and country. Just keep this in mind. This is very important. So next one is count transactions. This is main part. Basically we have to count the transactions, right? So we have to count the total transactions and total approved transactions using sum. So we will be making use of the sum keyword here. So again, so we will count the total transactions. In the question they have asked total transactions and total approved transactions, right? So this is fine. Total transactions and TTR I'll give total transactions and total approved transactions. So we will be making use of the sum keyword with a case statement. So case statement will be handy, right? So in this case will be handy. So I hope this is clear. So we will count the total transactions and total approved transactions using sum with a case statement. So the final step here is sum amounts. When I say sum amounts, we have to sum the total amounts and approved amounts using sum keyword. So we discussed this one earlier as well here in the previous step. We'll be going with the sum, right? So this one, we will sum total amounts and approved amounts using sum keyword with a case statement again. Same thing, same as previous basically. This one, right? So here this is fine. So yeah, sorry, this one has to be the fourth step. So this will be this is what we will be doing basically, right? So this is what we will be doing. So now as we know the approach, let's start writing the. So here first step is we have to select the data. We have to format the date as a year, if you remember, year and month, right? So let's do that first. So I'll just go with select keyword here, select date format. So this one is transaction date, comma, this one will be modulo y, this is fine, modulo m, this is fine, this one as month. So this is fine. We are just formatting the date to this one, year and month. So that's what we are doing, right? So the next step here is we have to group by country as well, right? I can write it here. Let me write this one in the next line. So we have to group by country, right? So let's go with the country here. After grouping by the country, we have to count the total number of transactions, right? So for that, if you would have already guessed this one, we'll be making use of the count keyword here. I'll just give count of star, as this one is transaction count. So I'll just go with the trans count here. Just give me a second. This is trans count itself, right? Yeah, this is transaction count, trans count. This is fine. So the next step here is we have to go with the approved transaction count and the total transaction count, total number of transactions count and approved transaction, total number of approved transaction count, both we have to go with, right? So how can we articulate that one in the form of query? Let's see the same thing. I'll just be making use of sum here. So let me write this one in the next line. So I'll just go with sum case when state equals, or let me give here approved, and then let me go with then 1 else 0, and this is fine. As this one approved count, so this is fine. So we are going with the here approved transaction. Next step here is total transaction amount. So when I say total transaction amount, this is sum of amount as transaction total amount. So this is fine. So the next step here is we have to go with the approved transaction amount. So previously in this line, if you remember this one I'm speaking of, line number 6, we went with the approved transaction count. So we are going with the approved transaction amount. So that's what we need to do, right? So that's what we discussed in the approach as well. Again, sum, I would have copied the same line and let me write this one completely. So this is case when state equals, so I'll just give approved here, then amount else 0, so I'll just give end here, right? As approved total amount. So this is fine. This is coming from transactions table, right? So that let's mention that one. So I'll just give here in this case from this one transaction. This is fine from transactions. So this is the first step. So we selected data, we made use of format or we formatted data as year and month. So that's what we did in the first step. So second step, in short, what we will be doing, we will be we'll be making use of group by. Basically we will group by month and country. If you remember, that's what we need to do, right? We haven't done that one yet. So that's what we discussed in the approach as well. So let me go with the group by class here. So I'll just go with group by here. Date format, this one transaction date, and this is of the form. Let me copy this one, whatever I have given here, this one. So let me paste it over here. I don't want to type that one again. So this is fine. So and also country. So this is it for the query, right? So we are just grouping by month and country. If you remember, that's what we discussed in the approach as well. So let me hit the run button. I hope this works. Let's see. You have an error in the SQL syntax. Check the manual. What happened here? From transactions to by date format, transaction date. I didn't close the bracket. I have closed the bracket here, right? Transaction date is also fine. You know why? Year month is also fine. What is wrong here then? At line 10. Let's see what is wrong. So yeah, what mistake I've done here is, you can clearly see here, this one has to be date underscore format. So let me hit the run button again. So I have left the space instead of underscore. So yeah, now you can clearly see the sample test case is getting passed. So let me hit the submit button quickly, right? So now you can clearly see all the test cases are getting passed. Means the code works absolutely correct on this case, right? So I mean the query works absolutely correct on this case, right? So I hope whatever the query that we have written is completely clear, right? So for now, this is it. Thanks for watching, guys.